All right, so today I'm thinking about giving a little bit of praise. What positivity? Yes, all right, positivity. And I want to actually talk about and highlight and crystallize the things that I believe that SIU is actually extremely good at. So without further ado, we're just gonna hop right into that and talk about the things that I think that he does at an incredibly high level, and some things that I think that he needs to kind of tap into again because he used to do for a while. So let's get into it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell down so it goes to the 13-month series doesn't get you and you can stay notified. Let's hop into the topic discussion. I think we gotta start with character design. I actually really think that SIU's character designs are phenomenal from top to bottom in all three seasons. Like he from like Lopo BRN, I don't even know exactly what it is. Like is he eating like a rice ball, some weird ram onesie like pillow? Like what is he even in? I think Mule Love has one of the best designs that I've ever seen in a webtoon because I have to actually look back and see if SIU changes for some reason. But one detail that's so small about Mule Love that I really appreciated about him is that because he has that kind of small, chibi, childlike look, but obviously he's like a full-grown man. I thought that SIU symbolized something pretty interesting by having him like emote and act in a way that is consistent with more adult people. But like he scribbled his eyes, like his like pupil, almost like like when you can't color within the circle and you scribble. It's like that detail went so far for me. I think later he did like the kind of general like kind of more anime like eyes and stuff. But I remember when I noticed the scribble on Milo's eyes, I'm like that detail. I think most people will miss, but it's super duper awesome, super dope. Another design that I think is really good is Spider Mommy. Spider Mommy is a crazy like boss, like a dark fantasy looking boss with the shield and the legs and like the armor with like even like the multiple weird like little like breastplates things. Like I think that like he's actually really good at making some designs I think are fire. And when it comes to the outfits, I actually think Korea is pretty good at like styling their characters decently enough. Like I even like Shibisu's like initial tracksuit and stuff. So like I think they look good and they have a lot of good clothes. Sometimes they look awful. Like I'm sorry, that Boy Scout Kun Aguero outfit's not moving me. And White's like Christmas sweater around the time when Rachel and Yura escaped from Bam again after they blew up Aguero's heart and they hit the floor like that. Like that sweater is awful, but I definitely think that when it comes to like designing his characters and their appearance and stuff, he's really good at it. Those were just very few, couple of examples that I like. I think Jordan and some of the other K9 and Yes Ratcher are some good designs too. I like Caliban a lot as well, so a lot of them look cool and they're diverse from like kind of goofy-ish to like serious to like a weird being, so to speak. So I think he's really good at character design. Another thing that I think the SIU is actually really good at is perspective. One thing that I've always praised him for, and I actually wish a lot of other authors would do this, is when he wants to showcase and show the audience how destructive and powerful the scale of an attack is. I think he zooms out very well to kind of show you how small people are and how big the attack was. A couple of examples I can give you. One is during the Namehon station when Yuri and Karaka were fighting, and you're seeing the crazy destruction under the bridge as they're trying to cross to get back onto the Hell train that's going on there, and kind of how small Yuri and Karaka seem. Like this is a crazy micro battle. And even when like I remember if Hodden's son pushed back Calvin or Calvin pushed back Hodden's son, but you could see how far he slides. He's sliding back in the air because SIU zooms out. Rex punch, 10% non-bloodlusted punch toward Hell Joe and the Red Thrissa, however you say that. Remember how like I think that was YUJE, whatever, right? He's like above the Administrator Corps, and the destructive capability of that punch reaches even that high. Like he's actually extremely good at doing that. So he should bring it back. Comedy's good. I always thought the comedy in this series was good. I'd be laughing when I'm reading Tower of God, and having revisited a lot of the stuff in the first season, I'm honestly cackling. Like I am laughing. Like when he wants to be humorous, he's actually good at it. I don't think he has any issues injecting comedy into his story. So I actually think that SIU does comedy and humor well. I would just argue that it probably hasn't been a big focus of late. so you just haven't seen as much of it. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's incapable of doing it. Sometimes when stakes are higher, things are a little more serious, and you're not necessarily the best at balancing that comedic tone with a serious moment. Some authors will opt to just kind of keep it serious. I think it honestly takes a very special touch to interject like goofiness and silliness in a moment of high intensity and tension, and not give the reader, player, watcher what I call tone whiplash. I think the Buu saga struggles from this because Dragon Ball was a little, goofy and whatnot, and then I would argue for a while Dragon Ball was pretty serious. Like Dragon Ball, from like the Saiyan saga to the Cell saga, no one's saying there weren't jokes, but the series, even the art style reflects like it starts being less round and more rigid and angular, and like to show the maturity and change in a lot of things. And I felt like the Buu arc tried to kind of go back with like the biting and meet you up, and I was like, that's not movie. So yeah, he's good at that. He's really good at that too. Another thing, I don't know. I guess I don't want to say he's good at this, but I just want to say this is something I very much appreciate about SIU, and this goes back to the Mule love stuff. Eyes. How he draws eyes, and the different symbols and types of eyes and colors that he will mesh and blend in order to like showcase somebody's eyes. Traumary is talking like Jihad's eyes up close. Real Love, Yasaracha. Like a lot of the eyes in Tower of God are super dope. I really like how they look. And that's that. I thought I'm gonna throw this out there as something that I think that he is good at, but hasn't necessarily shown and proven or done in quite some time, and as a result, I would like to see him bring it back into prominence. But in the first season, he's actually really good at one of my favorite things that stories just do in general is to have a kind of character that maybe might be more morally ambiguous. We're not entirely sure where their allegiance lies. Are they a protagonist or are they an antagonist? Are they somewhere in the middle? And they say something very like malicious, evil, insightful, or like, that was odd. But then they immediately undercut that with like a joke, like a bad joke, or offset it. And what you can do is you can interpret that scene in two ways. You can interpret it as obviously they're just talking out the crease of their bum, or that they're trying to deflate the situation and put everybody at ease by adding the joke after the fact. This happens with local BRN when they're talking about the equality of the teams for the hide and seek game, with Quan chasing them around with little the position stuff when they're still on the fan kills floor. And people are thinking Team A is better than Team B, but basically for the people who are kind of more like intuitive, they're like, no, Team B is better solely for one reason. That boy, CBL, LeBam James, all right? LeBam, sorry, I don't know LeBam. And I'm like, what a good moment, because I think I probably could have seen myself like, it was like a lottery joke after, like, was that serious? But then after, when it comes full circle, he's part of the Royal Enforcement Division, R.E.D, R.E.D. So I was like, I really like that. Like, those promos are very cool. I've always appreciated authors that do that. Where I look at a scene and something happens, and I'm like, I can argue there's a minimum 2 ways to interpret this scene. So, what are some things that you guys think that SIU is really good at? I'll say this: the lore building. The world building and lore is intriguing. I don't think the world building is bad. I'm not as far as some people with like One Piece and Tower of God having the greatest world building they've ever seen in the history of their life. I actually think the lore in Tower of God is a little better, and it still has immense amount of intrigue because of things like Arlene and the outside of the tower, and characters like Enryu and stuff that we haven't seen in action, and what is happening above the floor in which Jihad stopped climbing with that hostile administrator and whatnot. So there's still a lot of intrigue there, but I do think there's some stuff for world building he could do a little better, but that's not what this video is about. We're here to praise and talk about what he's great at. What do you guys think SIU is really good at doing in the Tower of God Web 2? And let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. Check the description where you can keep up with me and support me and all those things, and have yourselves a mighty fine day. You're